The next plugin we're going to be going over is one of my favorites. So it's called Sparkup, and Sparkup is based on a ZenCoding. If you're familiar with ZenCoding, we've covered it a few times on NetTuts. This is based on that. So if you prefer ZenCoding, you can still use the ZenCoding.vim plugin. But I like Sparkup because it allows for a couple extra things, like inserting values to the elements that you create. So if you don't get it, just pay attention and we'll go over it. All right, so here's where you can download Sparkup, and we're going to do it similar to the way we did it last time. So I'm going to open up Terminal, and I'll just browse to my desktop. So again, we're going to do it just like last time. Git clone and bring that in. So now you can see we have that Sparkup folder that you can see right there. So let's browse in there. And now, Sparkup can be used for TextMate, for Vim, and for other editors, but all we're concerned about is Vim. So the only folder we need to worry about is this one right here. So I'll go ahead and browse that in. And now, if I view the files, you can see that there's an FT plugin folder and a README. So note that this is different from the normal plugin folder. There's also an FT plugin. So what we need to do here, and if you ever need help with installing a different plugin, there's usually going to be usage and installation instructions. For Vim, you can see review the README, but I already know how to do it. So we want to copy the contents of the FT plugin folder to our .vim/FT plugin. Okay, let's do it different than last time. We'll use CP, and that's copy or copy paste. And I'm going to pass a flag of recursive, and that's going to make sure that it also copies any files or subfolders as well. All right, and what are we copying? FT plugin, the contents of that folder, and we're going to copy it where? To .vim/FT plugin, and that's it. So now at this point, if I go to my .vim/FT plugin folder, and I list the files, now you'll see that this HTML folder was added, and that contains sparkup.python and sparkup.vim. We're all set to go. So let's have some fun. Let's open up Mac Vim. Now, what Sparkup allows us to do is it allows you to rapidly create HTML structures. So for example, the trigger for Sparkup is going to be, by default, Control-E. So let's go ahead and save this as a test file, and let's test it out. I'm going to type div, and if I hit that control trigger, Control-E, you're going to see that that expands it to a div. Okay, well that's normal. That's similar to TextMate bundles, and there's also a SnipMate plugin that we'll go over later. But you can do even more with this. So let's say I want to add content to that div. I can do div, and then within curly braces, I can write my content. And now again, if I hit the trigger, Control-E, that expands it like so. Very helpful. All right, what if I want to create nested elements? What if I have a nav element that needs to nest a UL and some LIs? That's easy too. So I can do nav, and the way we do child elements is by doing this sign. So nav, and then that's going to have a UL, and then this is going to have a list item, but we want to specify how many list items are there. Let's say 4. So I can do 4 of them by saying 4 list items. Now, for each one though, we can say every list item needs to contain an anchor tag, because these are going to be clickable links within our navigation area. That's easy. But now I want to add some attributes. Maybe the anchor tags all need to link somewhere. So I could say href equals and then something. In this case, we just want to make sure it has a href, because we don't know where it's going to go. And then if we want something else, we could say maybe target equals blank to make sure that it opens within a new window, things like that. And then we'll also, though this isn't practical, we'll give every anchor tag some text like some link, just for the example. All right, and that's it. So I'm going to expand it with Control-E, and check that out. It does all of that for us. Notice that it applied the attributes, and because we specified a href attribute, but we didn't give it a value, it'll allow us to input one. And then we can go forward and backward to each trigger or stop point with Control-N or Control-P for next and previous, respectively. So let's say this one's going to go to net.tutsplus.com, and then I can do Control-N, and this one's going to go to another one. Control-N. So immediately you can see that that's a huge help. So to recap, we pass in our element. If we want to go to child elements, we can use this symbol. But if we want to go back up, so let's say we created a header element that has a UL, but now we want to go back and add something else. So I'm going to go and use this less than sign, and now we're going to go back to the header, and now we're going to add something else. And we can do that with the plus sign. So header, and we could say div content. my content. And then we're also going to create a footer, something like that. Paste that in. So now you can see we have our header, but now we have a sibling and then another sibling. So you'll use the Sparkup plugin so much, especially if you're a web designer. So let's play this out. Say we're going to have a container, and then we're going to have our header, and within the header, we're going to have an h1, and then we're going to go back to the header, and after that, we're going to have our content, my content, and then after that, we're going to have our footer, and we'll have a div, my footer. And there you go. That's created that whole structure for you. So the Sparkup plugin is a necessity, especially if you work with HTML a lot. So be sure to download it and let me know if you have any questions.